Hello everyone, welcome. My name is Mary Yam, also known as Crafty Yams on Instagram and on Etsy. So this is my Flosstube channel where I talk about mostly cross-stitching, sometimes other things like my pets or gardening. Yeah, so it's been a couple of months since the last video. It's now October, which is the middle of spring here. The weather's started warming up. The lighting is a bit weird in this video because I accidentally smashed my light globe somehow. I was trying to like wedge it out of the wall. It was like wedged in between the wall and the bed, and then it smashed. So no more light globe. This one's just a yellow one, so I look a bit yellow. But anyway, I've given my birds some millet so that they'll be a bit more quieter for the time being. That's what this cage is. I'm not like keeping any other beings caged in this room. It's just birds, though the door is open. They're still a bit hesitant to fly out. One of them is, I might as well show you. So can't get an angle with that. Yeah, so the lighter blue one is Violet, and he's a bit less shy, so he might come out. Snowy is the yellowy blue one. He's more shy. So yes, we have until the end of that millet before they start screeching. So yeah, so I've got a lot of maybe not a lot. I've got a few new starts. I've got whips, a couple of finishes, what else, and just other ramblings. So life update. In the last video I was talking about sitting my exam, so I've got 3 more psychiatry exams to do. This was one of them. I haven't got my results yet. The results come out in November, so by the next video you'll know if I passed or not. Yeah, the questions on the exam were kind of what I expected, but also a bit strange in that so it's an exam to qualify to be a psychiatrist. The questions were not really clinically focused, so by that I mean they're not kind of testing your knowledge about mental illness. They're not sort of asking directly about like depression, schizophrenia, or even medications. This seemed to be more testing your kind of organizational solving skills. So one of the questions, for example, was, so imagine you're the head of a mental health unit, and after you do an audit you find that your unit has really high rates of seclusion and restraint. And the exam question was, what are some of the reasons that your unit would be kind of secluding and restraining patients more than the average, and what would you do about it? Yeah, it was an interesting topic. I don't know how much the general public or how much you would know about these things. They're kind of not really talked about a lot because of the stigma, I guess. But seclusion is it's sort of a way to keep the patient safe and to keep other staff safe when someone is being very aggressive, and it's a measure of last resort. So in like the popular media, it might be represented as like a padded cell, but we don't use padded cells anymore. So the more modern version of that is a seclusion room. It's a very kind of difficult topic to talk about because a lot of people might not even know that we still have to use seclusion rooms and still have to restrain patients. So I've seen that very rarely done, where you physically have to keep a patient from hurting others or hurting themselves by restraining them to a bed. So I mean, I have seen it happen, but it's very rare? So that was one of the exam questions. Made me think, because one of the units I've worked in does have really high rates of seclusion and restraint, and it's something I've kind of morally been challenged by. I don't know why I'm talking about this actually, but if this is something, you know, you are interested in, let me know and I can keep talking about weird psychiatry topics. If this is not what you want to hear about, if you just want to hear about the cross-stitch, feel free to skip ahead, or let me know that, you know, this is not a forum for ethical psychiatry issues, but I'll continue rambling. Some of the admissions we get are patients who are intoxicated on methamphetamines, and often they will be aggressive, and then you really don't have a choice. Either you have to sedate them to the point that they are incapacitated, and that poses a risk to their physical health, or you use these more physical methods of restraint, so putting them in the seclusion room until the medication takes effect, or until the ice methamphetamine wears off, or using restraint. And it's a breach of that person's human rights. But the dilemma, you know, I have ethically is, yeah, obviously you don't want to be restraining people and removing their rights, but what's the alternative? Obviously you can't leave these patients in the general ward because they pose a risk to others. They're not in the right state of mind to know what they're doing. And the way mental health wards are set up in this country is also quite problematic. So most public hospitals will just have 1 or 2 units, and any patient that gets admitted will just go to a general unit. So you'll have there's not a delineation between different mental illnesses. It's just everyone goes to this unit, and that can be quite traumatic for a lot of people. Particularly, I'm thinking about young women or young men that are vulnerable, that may have had trauma in the past, and then being exposed to other people who have maybe criminal histories, who are using methamphetamines, and just mixing that population together just kind of doesn't make sense to me, but that's the system we work in here. I think that's part of the reason that patients have to be restrained, because the alternative is putting them in with everyone else, and it's sort of a ticking time bomb for causing more harm in that population. There's an initiative coming through the government that they want zero seclusion, zero restraint, and I mean, yeah, in a perfect world that would be great, but I see if you're going through it to a zero seclusion model, where are these patients going to go? I think they'd be just diverted to the prison system, because if you don't have those facilities in a mental health hospital, your security staff aren't going to put themselves at risk. You'd be calling the police, and the police would divert them to the prison population. Yes, so it's an interesting, well, not interesting, it's quite a sad kind of ethical dilemma. Kind of curious, people who don't work in mental health, what you might think about this. Is this something maybe you weren't aware of, that hospitals are still using these practices? What do you think would be the most humane way to treat these patients? All right, so I don't have a way to segue into cross-stitch now, but I'm just going to awkwardly start talking about cross-stitch, because that's what I do. Although it does kind of relate. Like my work can be quite stressful, and that's kind of why I cross-stitch. I find it gives my brain a break from that kind of side of things, and instead cross-stitch feels very like safe and predictable. There's your segue. So I will start by maybe showing you some finishes. So this one is very cute. This is by Shepherd's Bush. if you've done any patterns by Shepherd's Bush before, they're very characteristic. They've always got some sort of Suffolk, I don't think I've ever said that word out loud, Suffolk sheep. So they're the black sheep that have white fur. Sorry, I'll try and angle it like this. I think the lighting's better. They often have like little cute buildings. So this is actually a needle book. And it came in a kit, so they provided the fabric, everything kind of to make this was provided. They gave some little buttons too, which is cute. So I've got about 5 patterns for making needle books, and I thought, okay, I need to start actually using these kits and patterns because I was in need of a needle book. I would just stick my needles on needle minders like haphazardly in my room. So this is good. I'm now using this needle book. Yeah, and yeah, it was quite satisfying to finish. Oh, I did make a terrible mistake though. So it came with the floss, and Shepherd's Bush uses really lovely, like high quality flosses. They've got silk, they've got pearl cotton. Anyway, I didn't read the instructions and I just started stitching with 2 threads, so 2 over 2. And then I noticed my threads were running out. I'm like, what? Then I realized, oh, it's meant to be 1 over 2. So half of it here is done with 2 over 2 and this half is 1 over 2. But you can't really tell, I think. It just kind of looks a bit lighter in color. Anyway, so I've done that. Another finish is, oh my god, this frame is huge. So this is one of my own designs. So this is called Tea Across the World, Tea Around the World, sorry, I should remember the name. Yeah, so I designed this because I enjoy drinking tea. This is, well, I've created these motifs which are different types of tea from different countries, and all tea comes from the Camellia sinensis plant, which is quite amazing if you think of it. The way they process the leaves are different, but then you can get all these different flavors from it. Yes. So this one is Chinese tea, and so I tried to look up what tea was in the different languages, and this is chai, so Persian tea, Earl Grey, which is English. This is a Russian tea, Russian chai. So the word chai is used in a lot of different countries to mean tea, but I didn't want to keep repeating the word chai, so that's one of the reasons why I decided to write it in different languages. That's Japanese matcha or ocha tea. This is masala chai. This is Moroccan mint tea, and this is iced tea. Yeah, so the pattern's a bit of a weird shape. I wanted to finish it in a hoop, but then I didn't have a big enough hoop, so I just kind of put it in this hexagon. No, is that a hexagon? Is that an octagon? I thought, okay, clearly I haven't done maths in a while. It is a shape, and they fit in the shape. Yeah. So if you like tea and this pattern, that one's a pattern on my Etsy shop. Okay, on to the works in progress. I don't know why I haven't finished this one yet. It's quite tiny. I've had this for a while, and I don't know, it's like when I get to near the end of a pattern, I slow down like exponentially, or the other way, where I'll be stuck on this point for like a year, and then one day I'll just finish it all. Yeah, so this is from a series by the Bay Needle Art, and it's called Stitch an Inch Fall, and they've got these different fall related images, so you can either stitch all of them in like a banner or individual ones. So this is one I've just done individually. Yeah, this was fun to stitch. You could make this smaller. This is on 28 count, but if you did it on 32 count, it would probably be classed as tiny stitching. Okay, what have I got in here? Oh, yes. So this is also shepherd's bush. I've got a few of their designs. So this is a Christmas stocking. I've been working on this for like a year and a half. I pick it up every now and then because it's almost a complete different craft to cross stitch. The linen it's on is a very low count, would you call it? It's the holes are very large, and you use a tapestry needle and pearl cotton, so it feels quite different to do this. I'll show you what I'm up to. I was hoping to have this finished by Christmas, but I don't think I will. Well, not this Christmas. I'll have it finished maybe next year. So I'm just still kind of doing the person. It does take longer to stitch on this because the stitches are so big, as you can see. Yeah, so I find I'll pick it up, I'll stitch with a few pieces of floss, and then I'll kind of get sick of it. But I do like the picture, and I hope to finish one day. This is the kind of floss that's used. It's pearl cotton, so it's quite thick, and you just stitch with one strand of this. Okay, so the next thing I have, this is almost finished except for beading. And I couldn't finish it because I don't know where my beading needle is gone. So this is, oh, I don't even have a picture. It's the Wheel of the Year sampler by the Wishing Thorn. And this is one of my favorite patterns, actually. It was, you know how sometimes you see a pattern and you're like, yes, I must have that. That was what this was like. It's a bit wrinkly, but yeah, so it's very wrinkly, sorry. It's not usually so easily wrinkled. And it looks like I did start beading on it. Well, I have one bead. So it's like a representation of the different seasons in the pagan calendar. So the top is Yule, then there's the others. I like these little beehives and spiders. Yeah, so there's quite a bit of beading, but I don't know where I put my beading needle, and they're so tiny and easy to lose. So I've ordered a new one. So once I get that, I can finish this. Okay, so next, so this is a Barbara Anna I'm working on, Star Woman. So this was a mystery stitch along, but the pattern's now like completely released. When I started this, I wasn't a huge fan. I don't know why, I think it's because I'm using 32 count, and 28 count is a lot more fun to stitch on. But then once I got up to the face, I'm like loving stitching this now. Yeah, I find that once a pattern has a face or an eye, like once I get to that point, it's like my stitching speed increases. I think because I feel like there's a person like watching, or a person waiting to be created, so I've got to like finish the piece or something like that. But I love the really bright colors in her hair. Yeah, so hopefully I'll finish this one soon. So there's a whole bunch of Barbara Anna patterns that like I want to do next after this. Oh, I've got another thing here, but I can't show you because it hasn't been released yet. So this is a pattern I'm doing for the Stitches Collective. So Stitches Collective, they're a group of cross-stitch designers, like independent designers who come together and do charity initiatives. At the moment there's the Stitches Against Cancer initiative, where you make a donation and you get, I think it's almost 30 patterns. I'll put the link below. But they also do non-charity initiatives. So later in the year the Stitches Collective is releasing outer space collection of patterns. So the pattern I'm designing is space themed, UFO themed. I used to want to be a ufologist when I was little. I don't even know if that's a real profession, but I'd watch those like UFO documentaries, like on unexplained mysteries, like those shows from the late 90s. And then they'd have these UFO experts, and I remember under their names would be like ufologist. I was like, that's what I want to do. But sadly, it did not come to pass. Okay, next thing. Oh, I've already shown you this. All right, what have I got here? Oh yeah, this is a new start. I don't think you saw this last time. Or maybe you did. I can't remember. But it was by Scarsy Girl. And it's called the Scary Sampler. Actually, I don't know why I said Scarsy Girl. Is that a real person? It's by a heartstring samplery. The designer's Beth Twist. Yeah, it's called the Scary Sampler. This is what I am up to. I'll put a picture of the finished piece in the corner because I don't have it on the pattern for some reason. But yeah, this is like such an amazing design. I like how there's all these hidden things in it, like from horror movies. So here you've got like a little alien head. There's a lot of horror movie references that you wouldn't see like at a glance, but if you look closer, these are the Demogorgon heads from Stranger Things and Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah, so I decided to stitch this on 32 count Perman linen, or is this Witchelt? I can't remember, but it's a very stiff linen, and I'm doing 1/1. So this is, I think, one of the only pieces where I'm doing 1/1, and it's interesting. It's different to sorry, not 1/1, 1/2. So I'm using one strand of floss where I would normally use two. It seems to be like quicker to stitch with one strand, but more like labor intensive. So I've been doing small bursts at a time, and this isn't the first thing I usually reach to stitch on because it does take a bit more concentration, but I'll keep chipping away at it. Okay. This is also a new start that you wouldn't have seen last time. Yeah, I was going to stop buying new patterns, but I saw this one and it just convinced me I had to stitch this for my home. So this is called Summer Quaker by Lila's Studio, and that's what it looks like. I really like the whale, and I've been listening to Moby Dick on audiobook, and I like to listen to it and stitch this because it seems very like Moby Dick themed. I'm not a huge fan of this quote. I was thinking of changing it to like "Call me Ishmael," something along those lines. Yeah, I'll see what will fit in that space though. And I also really like the colors, like the color scheme in this design. So Lila, I think her name is, the designer, she uses like subtly different shades of navy and red, and from like far away it's kind of hard to tell, but the different shades, I don't know, they just look really pleasing to the eye when you notice the difference. Like you've got this kind of muted red, but then this muted blue, and then like a normal navy and a normal red. See, I'm clearly not a like art person because I don't know if these are even the right words, but yeah, so I've done this corner. I'm doing this on, what am I doing this on? 28 count. So 28 counts is my favorite count. It's just easier to see it. Most of the time I'm stitching at night, so yeah, I can't really see 32 count that well unless I have a headlamp or something. There's more. So this is an almost finish. I would be finished, but I ran out of one thread color that I needed. So this is a meter falls. This is my only full coverage piece. It's by Orenco Originals, which it looks like they just kind of put old artwork into a pattern making software and yeah, create cross stitch patterns from it. So I finished the main bulk of the whole thing. This has taken me, gosh, 2 years, over 2 years, because I was pregnant with my son when I made this. I just need to finish the border. So I ran out of this kind of green color and I've ordered it, but it's like stuck in the mail somewhere. It's been at the same sorting facility for like 4 days, which is super frustrating. I'm just waiting for that before I can finish this and send it to the framer. So I don't normally send things to the framer, but I figured with something that took me 2 years to make, I should probably put it in a form that is like more professional than just me like sticking it in a frame. So this one, I forgot to show you this last time, but I had started this in the last video. This is the Greenhouse of Oddities Stitch Along by Lola Crow Crossstitch. So this has been one of my favorite stitch alongs. Again, I haven't got the full image, but I'll put it in the corner. Yeah, so she released a little bit of the pattern every month, and it was usually a plant or 2 plants a month. The first month was stitching the outline. Oh, I should open this. Yeah, and I also really liked the information that came with the pattern. So you would also get some information about the plant and what the history of the plant. So some of these plants are quite unusual, and I'm a bit of a like gardening addict, and I hadn't heard of a lot of them. You've probably heard of the main one though. That's like the arum lily or the stink lily. There's also like another stink flower down there. Yeah, and there's little critters in the pattern. So there's a frog and there's an owl over there. So I've still got quite a bit to go, but this one has been really fun to stitch. I started off trying to use metallic thread in place of some of the other threads, and instead of white here on the greenhouse I use metallics, but then I kind of lost interest in metallics and I'm just going to stitch the rest with normal thread. Yeah, you couldn't really see the little details anyway, so it didn't make much of a difference. So this is something, so I was just stitching on this yesterday actually. So this is by Mojo Stitches, who's an Australian designer, and she often stitches designs with native flora and fauna. This one's called In the Library, and it's using cottage garden threads. So yeah, this design's been really fun to stitch as well, and the cottage garden threads are just so pretty to stitch with. The border is ivy leaves, I think, and there's a moth there. This is meant to be a Tiffany lamp, and this is eventually meant to be a cat, but I've only just started that. Yeah, and I'm really excited because Mojo Stitches is organising a retreat, a cross-stitching retreat that I'm planning to go to. It's in a few weeks. It'll be the first stitching retreat I've been to. Yeah, so it's exciting because I don't really know anyone who's obsessed with cross-stitch in my everyday circles of friends. So it'll be fun to meet people who are just as crazy about cross-stitch as I am. yeah, so that's in a few weeks, and I'll take some videos and I'll kind of show you about it in the next Flosstube as well. So I'm almost finished my pile of stuff. This is the last whip I've got. I haven't worked on this for a while actually. So this is part of the Shores of Hawk Run Hollow pattern. Sorry, I don't know why this is. Anyway, it's sort of a seaside house. There's this cute like whale weather vane. I'll show you what the whole pattern is meant to look like. So the whole thing's meant to be like this. So I'm just stitching this as an individual piece, and I've already stitched the first frame as an individual. You can see it behind me there. So I'm planning to do the same with this and just have it separately. And I've done that because I think if I put this all on one fabric, it would take me literally like 5 years to do it. And there's some of these frames that I'm not that in love with. And so I thought I'd just pick out a few that I liked and have them kind of separately. And I think that one's worked okay, just on its own. I actually have another finish that I haven't shown you. It's on my wall. Okay. So this one is one of the charity patterns I designed to raise money for Iran, and it's called Woman Life Freedom, and that's what the writing here says, Zan Zendegi Azadi, and it's got some pomegranate fruits and also the pomegranate plant in different phases of its life cycle through seasons. So I made this kind of to represent different phases of the revolution. So at the moment Iran is under a dictatorship that forces women to wear headscarves. It's been described as a gender apartheid because women are just treated so horribly there. So I'd say that this kind of represents the winter of a pomegranate plant and the winter of a revolution where things are still starting up. And then you have the different phases the plant and a country goes to before they reach freedom. So this piece, I ended up getting this professionally framed because it was displayed at a art exhibit to raise money for Iran. This wasn't one of the art pieces, but I did make some of my kits to sell there to raise money for the same charity, United for Iran. And this was sort of a demonstration piece for the kits. I've still got some kits left, so they're on my Etsy store. But I also want to give one away to a lucky viewer. I'll show you what the kits look like. This is my first time making kits, and yeah, I had a lot of fun making them, but it was quite a lot of work, so I don't know if I'd do it again. But I made this like floss card, and these are the threads you need. They also have the linen inside. So I've got this 32 count even weave. And the pattern, I always find it annoying when kits come with like really flimsy small papers. So I've kind of made this how like I would want my ideal kit to look like. So the paper is like quite thick cardboard. The pattern is in colour. Yeah, so I want to give this away, and I'm happy to post it kind of anywhere in the world as well. So if you would like a copy of this, just comment below using what shall I say? Let's say using the phrase Woman Life Freedom, and then I'll pick a random comment. You just have to be over 18 and not to use the words giveaway in your post, because then the apparently that attracts bots or scammers. Yeah, and I will announce the winner before my next video. I think that's actually everything. Yeah, thanks for joining me. Leave a comment below on anything that I've talked about today, including the initial psychiatry ramblings. I like talking to the community. Yeah, let me know if you're out there. Bye.